I've been monitored at the President Carr for the Parish President's Advisory Committee on Permitting and Planning, August 7th, 2025, at 9 a.m. The start of the reading.
Stacey Alessandra. Here. Rusty Autry.
Yep.
Jerry Bologna. John Sarig. Yep. Jeff Charlotte. Adam Schumer. Here. Donovan Duffy.
Here.
Bob Grace. Here. Bruce Lawson.
Here.
Jim Martin. Here, sort of. James Miller. Here. Frank Morse. Will Clays.
Here.
Charles Silvernagle. Here. Peter Sparrow. Here. Bert Turner. Present. Citizen Festival. Here. No. This alternate. Lisa Metzel. Here. Is anyone else spelled in as an alternate? Larry Dale. Yes.
Jim Mark.
That completes the roll.
And now we're going to move into the introduction of our new building permits director. By Shethyu.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like you to meet Mark Sebastio. Ranger Mark.
Who?
Mark is our newest, taking over for Danny's spot, our permit director. Councilman Walper has not even. For all of you before hours, council. He does have to be ratified by the council, but that's now coming in a couple weeks. But open refreshment with Mark is that he's worked at a lot of different offices. So he was the building official in Houston, which we know how they, that municipality is, and very busy buildings. And then he most recently comes from Has Christian, which is, arguably a much smaller office. So that kind of experience with different kind of offices and different kind of setups, I think, is going to be one of the reasons that Mark's going to be able to have the Ryan running. So we were really happy to have him here. He just started Monday, so take it easy on it, guys. Always. But Mark would have it and say a little bit about herself, and I'm sure you'll get to know things folks much better over next week's and last.
Thank you, Denuri. Wait. Oh, I was asked to condense it, so I'll be brief. My experience spans my whole life. As a young child, I was actually introduced to construction through my family, much probably like many of you that are involved in the industry. After going through that part of my life, I entered into the military and was introduced to the Corps of Engineers in the military, which I became a combat engineer, trained the carpentry and masonry in Fort Leonard. After many years of afterwards, obviously, I rejoined the military, the commissioned officer, and an engineer drew cut stuff. A president mentioned I do have a kind of diverse experience, come from very small jurisdiction like Has Christian, which has around 6,000 residents, and the span of the property goes for 6 miles wide to 1 mile deep. Having a staff of 3, we did like 50 houses a year, fitness structures, most for residential. The larger jurisdiction that was mentioned, what the city used to, and that was a little more interesting and intense, to say the least. You had approximately 2.3 million residents, if an area that covered over 6,600 square miles. During my tenure, the building department did 2,100 to 2,200 inspections per day. We typically had just under 5,000 plays in queue at any given time, and we work right through code. We had a staff of just under 500 in the building. My education kind of backs up my experience in the sense that I went back to school and got an undergraduate degree from the University of Southern Mississippi in science, which was a degree in construction engineering and technology, which gave me a broader view of what I didn't know. I earned just under 40 ICC certifications, which I currently hold. One of which is the Master Code Professional Certification. And at the time in 2016, when I heard that certification, ICC had announced there was only 100 worldwide. So it's really a prestigious certification. Last year, I earned the Master Code Enforcement Professional Certification, which, of course, my building department doesn't use on here, but another jurisdiction is part of my job. I am a certified floodplain manager. I've been a floodplain manager for cities and counties my career, so I need to be acute understanding of that. Again, we'll know that that's not part of what we do in the department, but it is helpful to have that first experience because I could communicate with each one of these departments, including planning, which I did very little, but I had some planning experience. It is helpful because I'm able to communicate. But I served on the State Board of Plumbing Examiners in the state of Texas, which was a very unique experience. We did some really unique things that I'm going to bring to the state here. Some of the things that we started in upstream pre-performance, we started a high school program. We found is that we were liking getting young people to get in from trades. And so we started a high school program that when they got out of high school, they were qualified as trade. They actually go to work the next day. They were licensed as trade, just PT. Have not seen that anywhere else. I have so builder's license, remodelable license, and a master electrical license in my J. Again, questions real quick. Yes.
I guess I know you use out Monday, but anyway, was there seeming a big difference between the way Schussman does it and Jefferson Tower?
No, that's actually a great question. What you have going on right here, it is unique in one sense that not everyone does it. The city of Houston did do that, and they just spoke with Chase. And we find them to be uniquely helpful. And the reason is things that we're blinded by, board in the department, where you're actually out there experiencing things that we're not seeing. It is very helpful to be exposed to us that we can streamline, collaborate together. It's not an us and them. We collaborate together. And stuff, my theme is going to be we're going to collaborate with you to help keep things done well. That said, I do want to mention, I've heard already, my forte, that there are complaints about things like timing, things like that. Those things worked out. It's not unusual. It's not unique to the parish. Does happen everywhere. But the thing is, have a board that active and wants to work with the department. You have the department that's active and wants to work with the board. Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Yeah,
All right, I need a motion to approve the minutes from July 10th meeting. Motion, do I have a second? So, minutes approved. Now we're moving on to the presentation of the new planning and zoning map. Body, Amanda?
Hey, good morning. I am Dana Ponce with the planning department. And I am being the dual geek of our new planning app. So this will be introduced with a soft launch on our website tomorrow, followed by a public release on Monday. So be excited about this. So what you guys know as GeoPortal, this will be the replacement to GeoPortal. So come Friday afternoon, Monday, there will not be any GeoPortal left. This map is managed by the parish's GIS department, but there are many departments that manage layers within it. So claiming coordinate parcel zoning overlays, building permits, dealing with addresses above building footprints as well. So this is a new GIS application framework from Esri. Esri is a global leader in software for map day location intelligence. This map provides a more intuitive user interface, so it's faster. It just makes more sense than GeoPortal. So for example, when you are searching an address in this map, it's similar to Google Maps. It's similar to your Maps app on your phone. You just type the address and it pops up. Users can search by the address. They can search by subdivision. They can search by street intersection, and that will bring you right to the parcel information. You'll have access to zoning overlays, building addresses, etc. And one good thing about this is the GIS department has more agency in updating it and troubleshooting it than our GeoPort. And so we do have some new features we would like to highlight. We had updated imagery, so it's as recent as 2025. It's called the Eco View, but it's pretty cool. Sorry, it's the nerd. And me. And we do have direct links to our Unicode. So instead of opening up a whole other tab to access our zoning code, you just click a link within the map. So that saves you a ton of time. And we also had the instructional videos. We worked in the Kiayo's office. It did amazing. So we have English and Spanish, and those will be on planning's website as well tomorrow. So we do have an instructional video to show.
To search a property, type the address, subdivision, or street intersection in the top right corner of the screen. A drop-down menu will provide examples as you type. Once you have searched your property, the map should zoom into the site. To close the information, click the X on the right side of the Identify Info box. To identify the parcel or lot of the property, click on the parcel outlined in blue. A box will open up on the left side with parcel information, such as subdivision name, lot designation, the primary zoning, and zoning overlay. The primary zoning contains a hyperlink to the applicable section of Unicode, where the parish's code of ordinances is hosted. Clicking the person icon on the top right corner of the box will open up Google Street View of the site. To close the parcel information, click the X on the right side of the Identify Info box. To identify the building of the property, click on the tan building footprint. Selecting the measure icon will allow you to measure distance and area. To turn the map layers on and off, select the layers icon on the top of the screen. There are two groups of layers, one for the Jefferson Parish layers and one for the Jefferson Parish imagery. Checking the box will turn the entire group of layers on, and unchecking will turn it off. Select the drop-down arrow to open up Circa Bytes. Under the Jefferson Parish layers, you will see more groups of layers: buildings, political boundaries, land use constraints. Turn the legend on and off by selecting the icon on the top right corner. You can create a buffer by the parcel lot or a drawn polygon using the buffer tool. Select the buffer icon, set the desired buffer distance, and select the parcel you want the buffer around. To remove the buffer and selected parcels, select the buffer icon. You can print the map by selecting the print map icon.
So where can you find this map? Come tomorrow. We will have it on Bannock's webpage. We do on the left-hand side, we do have a link to our crime zoning map. And then on the Parish shipping page, there's a resources drop down and a link to the planning and zoning map. One thing strictly we do want to show you is that Opera tool. For some of you who have gone through the legislative process, the application process, you are required to do a notification map and bring a list of properties that are abutting and properties who are within 300 feet of the subject property. And so the process typically goes, a planner gets assigned to make a map, hold the list of properties. The applicant then goes to the assessor, gets the address, get the mailing address and the ownership information, and then they bring it back as planning to submit with the rest of the application documents. So this will cut out, or it can cut out, one of those steps. And not only I do one hand therapy. And we export it to Excel, and it's so. So we will be working with the KIO's office to do an additional instructional video,
Where else? Because this will be really, I think, for the allocation parts.
gosh.
Are you like for out posting this somewhere on social media or something as our way that we can share the information?
Yes, so the PIO's office will be pushing out notification on link back. Right.
This is a new app. Was everything taken off with the Geo Portal app and just put on this app? Or was the things that maybe needed to be checked or changed on the Geo Portal updated before it was put on this app?
So that's probably more of a GIS question on the actual methodology of how they fish, but these are the layers that we have been working through with, that were on GeoCornel. They're now on this map.
I had another question. At Rural Land Company, we tend to do things a little bit different. We may have a large tract of land, and to put tennies on it, we carve out lease parcels. How does that come into play if you don't have a lot of effort?
So that the map be on this map isn't the parcel layer here. It was just legal on the.
So what do we do? That's okay. I don't want to interrupt the meeting. Go ahead.
Isn't that? So we did just add this spring, working with the GIS environment to help out in here on the map. And so this will bring you to the planning department's page that will be updated with all the information for this new map, instructional videos, instructional KDX, graphics, as for. Thank you.
All right, we're moving to the updates on the Unvio system.
Morning. So we just wanted to go over a few updates that were done to the paramedic system, and they're ongoing. Of course, we're not gonna put out a big huge change, but small changes to keep everyone on board. We're slowly keep streamlined, and that's the major goal, is to get everything streamlined to the MGO. We've added a plan reviewer drop-down that's at the top of the project page on the jurisdiction side. So it's easy to see. As soon as there's any issues with a project, we can see who's actually handling the project. We're implementing the new correspondence section where a plan reviewer can actually send a message to an applicant that's listed on the project, and they will get an email. The email will have a link. The link will be sent to that contact within the project, and they can literally communicate within the project, and all of those comments will be in the project. So if there's any questions on any correspondences, it allows complete transparency, the project and any communications. So now we also have where there's a needs to do completed. These are in the priority section of the building permit, where it's a bit clear what needs to be done, what needs more information, and what's completed. So of course, once something's completed, a priority specifically, it'll go to the next priority, as you can see here. Once the project is issued, we start construction. A lot of unused sections of the permitting portal has been removed. to eliminate unnecessary spaces. Just it eliminates confusion altogether. We categorize the project Cs to show on the main page, so a lot of what has been done is easier to find. Whether it's the plan reviewer looking at it, the person who's actually handling it, to a supervisor that may get a call. Everything's more simpler and streamlined to see. Entergy now, when there's a meter release, specifically for filings or building permits, Entergy doesn't have to check an email that there's not an allotment of emails that's going to go into a queue. It's going to automatically be sent to Entergy to release meters. So that'll eliminate a step.
Really, applicants be sent copy of that Entergy release. Will be visible.
There shouldn't be any email notifications. I am not absolutely positive, though. I will double check that.
I hope you can do that. Going back to the communication page, what is that communication page at? Is it done at application stage?
Cool. How the communications are? Yes. All of that is during an accepted application where it's in the review phase, even after the review phase.
Okay, it's not done at initial application. It's once it's taken under review. Is there a lag between submission and the assignment of a reviewer? Wasn't there a timeline in there?
No, it's assigned to a plan reviewer. The plan reviewer accepts the job, and then this correspondence, of course, is what we're speaking about. Prior to being accepted in the application phase, there's a comment box that is returned to the applicant, say that there's a fence permit from apply for, and we need a survey. So we'll send a comment, provide a survey before we even get to the point where we can accept it. So on the application side, there's a comment box that pops up for the applicant, and we have returned it. So we don't see it until you resubmit the application with that survey that we need. Then we, of course, assign the project, and the plan reviewer accepts.
These are great things, Tremona. I'm looking for the question to answer. That once a submission is sent in, it seems to, in the past, it's drifted around for a while until someone is assigned to take that case. And the applicant does not know what's going on during that period.
Right.
But once it's submitted, will the communications link open up for the applicant to see who is taking care of this?
It won't open until the application has been accepted. And typically, the plan review supervisor assigns it before the end of the workday.
That's the part I'm concerned about.
Okay. That lag between the supervisor assigning it and it being accepted. That's what you're talking about?
I'm concerned about the time that has passed between the submission of an application and the assignment, knowing who's in charge. I'm just trying to figure out who's in charge as soon as it's submitted. You know, when that number is assigned to it, which becomes really a number, will that trigger the communication link open up for the applicant?
Not yet. It has to start becoming, it has to be accepted by the claim reviewer. Therefore, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to move on. We'll talk with Lay. Okay. All right. So the automations, just the same as Entergy. We're getting to a point where right now it's only commercial new construction, where once the specific priority has been completed, it'll automatically go to the next priority. So once, say with the fees for filings are the only time an actual human being looks at this application is when it's accepted. We send out payment notifications. Once that's sent out, it's completely up to the applicant to pay. It's paid. The system knows it. It's issued and then closed out. So there's, especially with the filings right now, it's really a quick process. Commercial new construction is in the works right now. We still have a lot of automations that have been applied, but we're working on it. So it's not complete in commercial new construction. So this is where we are at commercial new construction. Application accepted, project cost entered by the plan reviewer. Project open for all departments review. It's a simultaneous review. All deficiencies satisfied, contract amount entered by plan reviewer. Of course, that's after the executed contract has been provided and the amount is entered. Or automation invoices, this is where it gets automated to where it issues. Hey, it's issued automatically. Plan reviewers haven't even seen it yet because you're paying, the system knows it, it's automatically issuing, and then the CC, of course, at the end of the project, when all of the inspections are passed, it's closed out, CC sent. And this is kind of a kind of sneak quick pick of exactly how it goes to do completed during the review phase, and then, of course, the automatic for the invoicing, the fees key, issue and permit, and then, of course, priority 12 is at the end after all inspections have been passed. For building permit applications, we cleaned up a lot of the pages just to improve streamlining. The LDR question, Louisiana Department of Revenue, that's a state thing. We were able to remove that requirement. Lot square subdivision is not required, so you don't have to make up 00 just to keep going in the application. The energy question is by specifically the energy code was adopted. We're not putting the energy code, does this bill at the energy code requirements. We're not going to have you select yes or no just to move on with your application. It'll be done during the review phase. Of course, Libby District is not required. The SPUs, did you were planning to discuss this? Or, okay. Yeah, auto renewals. We're in the process of getting that more automated and streamlined. Code compliance and enforcement, of course, they've taken on the dumpster renewals, certain licenses that our department was handling for so long, and Airbnbs, short-term rentals, hotel, all of those we no longer handle. It's with the different departments. Yes, all is in MGO. There's a tab at the top on the left side that tells you what department handles. You just click on it and you see what applications each department handles.
And just remember, this it's assigned to all departments. Do we get a name or to contact on our projects? Like, engineering. Is it good? You get at each department, you get a name for each reviewer, right?
It's the review letter that's sent out that's going to have the name of the person that reviewed it. It's going to have their name and information.
I know before the letter gets sent out, if we have to wait for our comments before we know who's reviewing it. That's a lag in our process. And as far as getting plans approved.
So you actually going. Get something I expect application so that you apply for the permit. So apply your UA companion here.
Right. Full use section. Yeah. So like I applied for a project, and basically when it's assigned to a reviewer for each department, it should be put on the MGO system as well. Here's the reviewer that's working on your project before we get the comments, because it might take 2 weeks to get comments.
That is easy.
Even look today.
Oh, okay. In my
Yeah. Yeah, good conversation about the how the South Central, how that would be done, and yet that could show more customer or where are we
I
going?
mean, that would be fully transparent for people that are applying.
Okay.
All right.
Before,
Well,
I would like to just share something with the group here, an experience that I had in dealing with the parish, the planning department, the permit department. We signed a lease with a 57,000 square foot grocery store about 6 or 7 months ago, out of town, Arkansas, $1 billion in sales. These people spent millions of dollars remodeling the entirety of their space. And they're from uptown, and they used the local contractor, and the local contractor had a bunch of subs. And in order to get inspections and all that kind of stuff done, they used the independent inspectors. And I'm not familiar with all of this lingo. I got a call Friday of last week saying, we've been told we can open these by all the different subs and whatnot. And I said, well, have you got your CO? Oh, we need CO. Yeah, you need a CO. So started calling around and couldn't get anybody to give me a call back until Monday. That young lady there, Ramon Che, did an outstanding job of dealing with an ungodly amount of issues. I never heard to archives. Apparently when sub or somebody files something and it's not in some kind of order or something, it goes into something called archives. And in order to get CO, the list of all the stuff that has to be done, it says no. But all the stuff is in the archives. Ramon spent probably all day Monday, and Lord knows how late she spent dealing with finding all these archives and getting things straight. And it wasn't until Tuesday at about 10 o'clock, after conversations with me and someone subs and whatnot, she took it upon herself to get involved beyond whatever her position is, to where she was dealing with the subs, and she even had some conversations. I paid the contract. And at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, they were able to open. They were able to open on Wednesday. They had spent thousands of dollars to have a big marketing program, and there were all sorts of people that were invited to attend. And without that CO, they wouldn't have been able to open. Had it not been for her, we would have been embarrassed here in Jefferson Parish. I don't know if these people are going to do any more business with the parish, because it took them 30 days to get a temporary banner when they took over the grocery store, because the planning department didn't know what the geoportal said, didn't know that there was, I called them, explained to them, it's only been a grocery store. It took them 30 days to get the banner. Finally got the ban. And then to go through this, where the president of the company was calling me on Monday night saying, are we going to be able to open? But anyway, that lady's fantastic. She did an outstanding job. And I think everybody used to recognize that. The other thing I want to share with this group is I'm not a contractor. I'm not a subcontractor. And I don't understand all this technology and whatnot. But are we still going to have this archive system where if things don't come in order, they go in archives? And if you're going to have that, who is following up on that to say, hey, look, I want to let the owner know, I want to let the tenant know, the applicant know, yeah, we got these things in, but we didn't get them in order.
Right. So our trades clerks receive emails from third-party inspectors, which are hired by the general contractor who subcontracts their trades throughout their project, and they hire third party. That's where the contractor does not use Jefferson Parish inspectors. Sometimes during a huge project, these inspections come in a different order that they were actually completed, and they go into something that we call an archive, because the clerks have to hang on to these extra inspections that they can't enter into the project because they came in before a priority, say, rough-in inspections. You have to get those done before you get the framing. So the framing's in, but none of the roughings, right? but you can't jump down into a priority that other priorities are required before you can complete the one before. I'm trying to explain it clear enough. But that's what's happening. That's why we have this archive. And it's under the address of the project. And it stays there. And what happened with yours in particular, all of your finals, well, most of the finals except the final electrical was in. Your third-party inspector that you paid or your contractor paid or whomever wasn't a Jefferson Parish inspector. That final was not sent to our department. Therefore, it wasn't, we couldn't give you a final. We couldn't give you the CO. So that's when you called. We figured it out. It was a whole lot in our bag because this was a final electable, and we can't very well give you a temporary occupancy and allow, with safety, numero uno with us, right? So he kept sending the final electrical inspection, but he thought he was sending the report, and he kept sending pictures. So that's kind of what happened. It was a waiting game. And so with me, I honestly got involved in something I probably should not have, because I got between a contractor and who he pays. And that's not something that we're supposed to do. But I did because, of course, I was just trying to help get this done. But just so you know, I would do it for anybody, but it's technically really something that we really shouldn't give to.
Yeah, and Toronto talking about that, who would, again, I'm not familiar with all these procedures. If the project, like this big remodel, isn't it assigned to a particular planner or a plane? I don't know what planning is to do with it, but it's assigned to a planner.
A plan should be wrong.
Okay, plan review. Shouldn't that person be checking it from time to time?
That person's the gatekeeper to get it reviewed and issued. After that, it's inspections. It's up to the contractor, the subs, to submit, use our inspectors, or use third party. It's up to him. The problem with the third party is that things come in a different order than that's all we have the archivists, because they're coming in at a different.
But all I'm saying is, in this situation, this was a high-town company, and they used a local contractor, and they were breaking news to people from out of town with a guest fee. If there were things that were out of order, in other words, the plan reviewer doesn't have anything more to do with it, then it goes to permitting. Is somebody in permitting assigned to it? Does he or she take a look at it and say, well, wait, this is going to be a problem?
The inspectors, of course.
Inspectors?
Our inspectors. But what happened, that was the general contractor in not communicating with the person that he hired to do the inspection.
Very wrangle these third-party inspectors to do it there. Yeah, to turn it in on time. We get this a lot on BS Edge, where things come at a sequence. The whole job gets done, and then they have to come ask for forgiveness. How do we correct?
So I will say that the Parish did recently amend our Code of Ordinances as it applies to responsibilities and roles of third-party inspectors. And one of the things that we did implement was the ability to temporarily suspend or even revoke the authority to do third-party inspection back in the parish for third-party inspectors who are not following the rules. So we do send warning letters. If they submit an inspection report that he signs off on, say, mechanical, and then our inspector goes out there and the air conditioning isn't even installed yet for a specific thing. And so that is something that we have taken a look at, is how we can bring these third-party inspectors, into doing things in the right way, in the right order. But quite honestly, a lot of it is down to the contractors and subs submitting their filings timely, not having the inspection submitted to us before they even submitted the filing. And And so it's a conversation we need to have. We try to be beauty. We did speak with the third party inspectors, all go through a registered interpreter Parish, went through and explained the new ordinance, new requirements that they're just to follow, the potential repercussions of, potentially not being able to submit inspections in Jefferson Parish. We're going to send your contractor or send your up a letter and say, we will not accept the inspections for this person because they can suspend it for whatever, our documented reasons are. And then that becomes a civil matter between them. But we are been working to address that variation. We know it's a problem. Quite honestly, some of it is on the inspectors to do the job right. But it is also on the contractors to know what's happening to their projects. They're huge.
So who do you put the onus? Be like, the contractor that should do the work, right, Gina? Is that?
No, follow up with every trade to make sure they have called their inspection note at 40. And Tremont, let me ask you this. Everything's time set, right?
Yes.
Per inspection when they got audited. So is that the same requirement for a third party time stamp? Is there a requirement from when you time stamp that time and date responsibility on their end to get that to Jefferson Parish? Yes. We hold them to that standard. So that's how you can execute the letter. Okay. Good.
And one issue with Victor's, and I'm sorry, your electrical third-party inspector was your original electrical rough-in was done by a third-party guy that went on vacation. So you get a chance to tell you, but your general contractor explained that he was on the beach and he had to get another guy, and the other guy didn't provide the report the way he was supposed to. That's actually what happened.
And he is an approved independent inspector.
He did it as a report. Does the parish publish a list of approved inspectors? Is that something you just send out to contractors? Is that something you can send out to owners?
It's actually on our website.
You only with the website. And all of these independent inspectors they understand the parish system, so they can't use that as an excuse.
Follow the tuition, they're very thorough with security regulations. So, yeah.
And we're using independent inspectors because we don't have enough inspectors. So we have a shortage in that department.
Wait, how comment? So perhaps this is food for thoughts in the fact that the wave of the future may be third-party inspectors. Because of the lack of money, the lack of people to be able to do the job, I think we need to get on this and really discuss it of how we can resolve it because he's leaving around for a while. So just thought.
I don't know, the parish just looked at it again, about the parishers limit the number of third-party inspector you might have on job. In other words, you might on commercial job have the electrical inspector, third party, and one inspector third party at different one. Same thing in my building, they're doing mechanical inspection, so you got the sense of 5 different inspectors on job.
We haven't looked at that, but that is circuit.
So John's, the St. Charles, and Mullins do that, and it might be something you want to look at. Ease up some of that confusion or the deal.
So Truman, I do have a question. If you have a project ready in the system, will these updates be incorporated into the?
Yes.
And they are active now?
Yes.
Okay.
His inspector submits a photo of what John completed for the permit was actually applied for, like Dennis referenced earlier. Are there any fines or fees assessed, and if so, prepaid that was resulting? Whoever files it. So say it was electrical. When the electrician actually files the job, there'll be a violation fee associated with that once he gets that violations.
Question. So I call for a third party badge in my left one, Rock Pierce.
and I call in my final electrical inspection. I've been told that I can't have Jefferson Parish come do the final electrical because they have a third-party inspector do the rise.
Yes, sir. That's
That's on the both side.
no. I believe that was a discussion that we had with third party. We had the meeting, but our inspectors do not go behind third party. And once it's third party, our inspector, the only time we get told is if it's failed. If it's something, there's an issue, but without something like that, then we get involved. Otherwise, it's started by third party, it's finished by third party.
Okay, we move in order to the presentation of the survey that everybody submitted by the Chamber of Commerce.
Right. Good morning, everyone. Hold on, let me get switched. Okay, so good morning. My name is Ruth Lawson. I'm president of the Jefferson Chamber of Commerce and also a fellow task force committee member. I'm happy to be here today. We presented this survey to not just our members, but we also forwarded it to all of you to participate on or forward it to your kind of member, other fellow member organizations or clients, customers, etc. The survey was open for about, I don't know exactly, probably about a month and a half. We worked with the parish. I guess we developed the questions. There were about 15 questions in general, trying to make it user-friendly and the language as simple as possible. I am also not in your field of the planning language, permit language, and so making sure that our businesses who are contractors or engineers, could look to this survey and provide information, as well as just business owners who have gone through the process but do not routinely go through the process. So that's a little background on the actual survey. This is our profile of respondents. So we had almost 100 participating businesses. The businesses were mainly made up almost half by construction and development, so 46.1%. So really those of you that are intricately involved in this process, that know the language, know the process, and know where we have both opportunities and breaks. We also had about 22.5% of professional services. Most of those were engineering companies and others. And then the other field was 31.4%. That other field was probably more of your businesses that do not typically go through this process. So a lot of retail companies, healthcare, manufacturing, and also our parish utilities. Our questions, I do want to say, were developed with input from industry and our members. I did run this by Juliet, at least to make sure I got the language and the vernacular correct, and would be helpful in their assessment of those areas. And also, if any of you have questions, please feel free to stop me. This is certainly interactive. So we split the survey into two parts. We split it into permitting and then planning. If someone got to the permitting section and they'd never applied for a permit, they didn't even get to answer those questions. They were sent straight to planning. But we first started with permitting, and so 84.3% of our respondents have applied for a permit in the last 5 years. This was the time frame was important to us just in case that there are many changes I know that go through the permitting process daily or yearly, and so we wanted to make sure that they were at least familiar with the process in the last 5 years. Next, we asked, what types of permits have you applied for? So this was a section in which they could answer or, select many different types. So 60% of them were commercial building permits, 52% were residential building permits, and then 32% were electrical, gas, mechanical, or plumbing. The 18.2% of the other category was kind of your outliers. That was like signage, right-of-way, or special use. So there's a little bit, out of the typical permits that we've been talking about here. So we wanted to talk about what was the overall satisfaction with the parish process. I think that you can kind of see from the results, people are pretty slick. We had 40% satisfied or very satisfied with the process. We had 36% dissatisfied or very dissatisfied, and then 24% neutral. It was broken out into very satisfied, satisfied, neutral, dissatisfied and very dissatisfied. So we combine those two just to give you an idea of the satisfaction and dissatisfaction level. So after that, we wanted to figure out which aspects were most challenging. And I think that a lot of these responses are indicative of what we've all been discussing here. So I think the biggest one, which, is no surprise, I think, is 61.3% of the assignments accepted to that the length of time for approval of the permits was their most challenging aspect. Their respondents were able to choose more than one response, but 61% of the responders chose that as their biggest problem, followed by communication and or customer service with the staff. That was at 40%. And I think this is going, as we'll see later in the survey, that there were suggested improvements or why, did this cause delays? If so, why? And I think the communication and customer service can kind of run the gambit, whether that's kind of with the updates that y'all have included with the system or just talking to a human being or making sure that there's some sort of way to kind of communicate the process, I think, and where they are in the process was a big factor. I will also say that the customer service was something that was mentioned very heavily throughout the survey in responses. 29.3% both kind of tied for the complexity of forms and requirements and the lack of online tools and resources. I think some of this has been, some of the suggested improvements have already been addressed by y'all's team with the MGO updates and the new planning and zoning that. But those were each kind of tie, and then the cost of permits fees were at 12%. There were some other categories, but these were really, I think, like one person answered for each of the other categories. So these were the big kind of themes that were going throughout. So we asked about length of time for permit approval. We found that 26.1% were able to approve their permit in 1 to 3 months. 29.3 was that less than 1 month, I think, which is our gold standard, right? Even shorter than 1 month would be fantastic. But we also had kind of our outliers at almost 20%, 3 to 6 months, and 5.3% of them having more than 6 months of an approval process time. We also asked, were you provided clear instructions and guidance on the permitting requirements? So I think this is, interesting. And I think you have 28% that says very clear, 52% that says somewhat clear, and then 20% unclear on the guidance and instruction. And then this went into kind of what aspects were most challenging, any suggested improvements, which will be the next slide. But if they were asked, if you experienced unexpected delays, what were those calls? This was a narrative answer. And so we went through, you can imagine the amount of data that it goes through, and people's responses are all very interesting. So we organized those into themes. The number one most responded was the communication with staff. And then the communication between departments. So communication between planning and permitting, or permitting and engineering. They seem to realize that, or would think that there wasn't enough communication between those departments as to what was going on. And then something that we've all talked about and a lot of our members have told me is the repeated back and forth of new requirements for each step. So this was mentioned both in the, so we'll operate these, both in the planning section and the permitting, but really a frustration of say, okay, you need A, B, C, and D, and then going back again and saying, now you need EFG, so it was kind of that back and forth, and that's a significant delay in time of when that permit gets approved. They're not giving all of the answers straightforward of what is needed for the process. And then these were some suggested improvements. I think some of these kind of go hand in hand with what y'all mentioned on the website with the instructional videos, but a dedicated frequently asked questions page on the website, or some sort of information that the contractor or professional service provider, those people who routinely deal with the service kind of know the ins and outs, but those of you who are trying to, do this on your own really suffered some hindrances in giving that kind of FAQ, that support on the website, how to navigate the cages. And so I think the instructional videos will be great on that, as well as anything you can provide on that NGO website as well.
And then more individualized and improved customer service. So many of the respondents kind of had frustrations with getting a response back or even knowing you was reviewing a permit work plan from the get-go. And so they wanted to there were many, answers as well that said, okay, I got assigned one person and that person went on vacation and I was kind of boss to the beats. So that is a big communication issue too, I think, but more individualized and how do we improve that customer service on the parish level. And I think coming from, what Vince was talking about and us as JEDCO, who's usually here in the chamber, and JBC is like, we're just trying to bring new investment into Jefferson Parish. We're trying to retain our businesses and we're trying to add businesses to Jefferson. And so if there is a way that we can develop more team approach, that we are working together to ensure a more prosperous Jefferson Parish, I think that is ideal and needed. And if there is ways that EMEA's private industry and all of you sitting in there have a vested interest in this process, if there are ways that I think all of you would be willing to support, and I know you would, working with the team to make sure that we retain our current businesses and yet welcome new businesses within Jefferson easily. And then technology updates and improvements to the online portal. So this is a lot of what we discussed today. I don't know the ins and outs of the website portal. I had never seen it until we did the practice last time. But that was huge. They talked a lot about the sequential order, which we just discussed, I think, at length. I did not know about the sequential order, but I'm sure all of you understand what they're talking about. But significant technology updates and improvements to the online portal, they stated, would be super helpful. And these are also, just for mentioning, narrative answers that I organize into major themes. So next they went into planning. So this was a slightly less percentage of respondents who had dealt with the planning department or interacted with the planning department regarding zoning, land use for development. Only 59% of the respondents had done so. And so we asked them, how would you rate the ease of understanding parish zoning regulations? That was something that we kind of saw throughout the process too, or we'll be hear from our members, is that it's just confusing. I think it's incredible that y'all added that tool that you can just go directly from the map to what zoning is necessary. But as you can see, this is kind of split too. We had 11.3% say it was very easy, 43.4% say it was somewhat easy, 41.5% say somewhat difficult, and 3.8% say very difficult. So those were basically like directly even. And so that's interesting. And I don't really have a way to delve deeply into that information as to who he was. I mean, I could, but I'm also not a data, scientist. But it was interesting to see to kind of split half by owl. So which aspects were most challenging in the planning process? We try to keep the questions similar for both processes. 66% said the length of time for the approval. 41.5% said communication and our customer service with staff. So you can see those two issues are the biggest issues across both permitting and planning. And I think that's what we've talked about at length, kind of trying to make improvements here, is that's been our biggest thing. Like, how do we get our permits quicker? And how we get communication and improve customer service with the government staff. And then 34% was complexity, of forms and requirements. And then 22.6 was the lack of online tools and resources. I think the information that y'all provided here today will be helpful to people as they go forward in this process. I just think that we have to figure out a way to make sure that the masses know about it, that they're able to navigate the systems in the correct way, that they're able to use the tools that y'all have developed. Right. And then what caused any unexpected delays with the planning process? So once again, we see the communication, both communication with staff and communication between departments, and then the delays due to evolving requirements at each step. So the same thing with the permitting, as the planning was sent back to the applicant. They were told, you need to provide A, B, and C, and then they go back with A, B, and C, and now we need D, B, and F. And so that was a big source of frustration and contention with the respondents. And then the number of regulations.
I think we've seen the parish president show the changes in the number of regulations over the years and the amount, just the stacks of paper that they now have to abide by. And so that was a huge part of the planning process, was the number of regulations the applicants had to navigate. And suggested improvements looked similar. Improved communication on status and requirements, less stringent regulations. You know, I think as business, we all want less stringent regulations. I know that sometimes there's a ability to do that. I think sometimes there's not. I understand that, but that was a big aspect of it. And then the customer service training. And I think that you can see from all of this, both the painting aspect of it and the permitting, that the communication, if there's a way that we can improve communication between the staff, between the departments, I think that will improve the time it takes for us to get the permits and then the planning process. And so that was kind of our biggest take. So that was the survey. We really kind of, like I said, kept it high level, didn't get in the weeds. I did have the opportunity, I did not provide the raw data for the parish. I'd be happy, and I expressed that to parish president, to sit down and talk to her about some of the narrative answers. But we allowed our members and those taking the survey to remain anonymous. And I welcome anyone who has had other issues. Please share with me. I'm always willing to share that with Bess or Juliet or whomever. And Mark, congratulations and good job. But in any way that it can be helpful, I would be more than happy to sit down and discuss. Does anyone have any questions?
Good job.
I think those. I want to say thank you to Sam on my team. I gave him the data. He made it look great. So he's new, just 6 weeks here. And so thank God for him. Early up.
Great graphics.
Yeah, boy, going back one thing, I would say anything that falls into a black hole like Vincent's issue, that needs to be removed and resolved, because that's something that we're nuddles for. I mean, that's a problem for you guys as well as us. And anything that would create a black hole like that is a problem. Which was what we're trying to say is, in the third-party inspections, as you already know, they're trying to solicit bids for that. We know what we are. I mean, there's not one jurisdiction out there that has no peer. And Morelands is right behind it with trying to get people at our organization to go do that. But I think that if we look at it from standard or the future, we have to put that on the list of conversation topics, though.
So, Frank, I do want to address that. We do recognize that the parishes just where deficit of inspectors is detrimental. So we have actually procured a as-needed contract with a third-party company to perform inspections as needed, whether that be host disaster or if they get to a really bad point. We are in the process of getting that contract signed now. We'd have to find funding for that contract. Every council person, they're fine. But we did recognize that we are at the point where we need to be realistic, that due to our challenges in bringing on inspectors, we need to be prepared to authorize third party if necessary from a parish's side. However, I will say they have had some recent successes in some higher I don't know, Truman, do you want to skip to the gentleman who has the most certifications, so start rather than starting at type 1?
Oh, yeah. I think we just recently hired a electrical inspector who has residential, commercial, as well as plan review. So, and of course, the parish has incentivized pay additional.
So that's the other thing that we are working, is to try and encourage many of our existing inspectors to take on additional certifications and be able to do multi-inspections at one time. That's the long-term goal, is to be able to send one inspector out to do at least 2, maybe 3, all at one time, your trades inspections. We know that will also be a big efficiency if we can get our team going and
particularly as we bring on younger inspectors who maybe open to training and getting into certifications. So our flying plan does incentivize that already. There's a very nice, additional pay increase that they automatically attain with those additional certifications. And so, and of course, we work to provide training opportunity through our ICC subscription. We offer the classes and the assistants taking tests. So that is something we are proactive on, but, it's getting that person in the door first is always the first hammer and kicking them. Yeah.
So, Julia, I have a proposal on that. I feel that the funding boy that I think you just spoke about, don't know if it's structurally possible that I'm asking, can we do it? We don't want to wait for the inspector that it backlogged 2 weeks. There's a mechanical inspection problem. We know this, and we've been talking about this in Jefferson Parish now at one of those associations, I don't know, for a year. What about letting the contractors volunteer pay that fee to the parish? Now, I know you guys got to disperse the fund, an additional fee offered to the contractor for that inspection. That sounds right, because we don't have the inspector to assign.
I think that's something that we can have some more conversation about and explore with the parish attorneys about how that will work within the parish fee structure. Yes, we'll certainly have any conversation, and have already put on our calendar to come to the Home Builders Association.
Sorry, on calendar. Exceed that occurrence, but is there any training offered to these third-party inspectors of what full parish needs or the system or?
So as I said, we did have a class after we adopted the amended ordinances to go through what features are required, answer questions. But that is certainly something that we can look at providing on a regular basis.
Let's helpful.
And again, it may be something that's similar to the Gebrashko video or the planning and zoning that,
you requires them to, post it available, just say, here's how you navigate the system and provide the documents you need to provide. We're open to those conversations about how we better provide information. I think that the planning and zoning map, making instructionally and the user videos is probably a step we're going to continue taking as we make these improvements. And so hopefully that will cheese too.
Just for the portal, is it going to be allowed? We still can't see what documents we don't. So whether that's plans or it's still not said that way.
I think though that may be something that applies to new projects. I think if it retroactively applied to existing demo, I think new applications do offer that feature because that's Charles is number one on his list, and he was very excited when he told me he could find Izaki.
Right. It's only on new projects. If you have a existing project that's a year old or within the system, that it's not set up for that.
So if you need to see any documents that you uploaded on any older project, the plan review, it's a click and it'll get it activated. You need to get in touch with the planner for them to.
What if we now upload comment responses on an older one? Will that automatically show? It's all you see everything now. So, okay. So if any new thing we upload,
and that's just a matter of
do a speak way out. Yeah, no, perfect.
Because it's not a whole new system. It's the applications are under the new. Obviously, I can't speak technology. That's by very high level explanation.
2000, it's 2025.
The NGO system, if that's going to be used by the entire state?
So the NGO system is a platform that jurisdictions pay for themselves and sign up for. Jefferson Parish first started using it in 2014. when I think actually the home builders are the ones who brought it to the parish to say this is a platform that's being used in St. Tammany, in a number of jurisdictions around the state. East Baton Rouge, Lafayette, they're all on this same platform. A lot of Louisiana jurisdictions are on this platform, but if I state mandate to use it, the city of New Orleans developed their own system.
Is that and the state wants to go to one system, and I'm just curious, since we're talking so much about it, is it going to be that one?
I know that I don't know, and I think that's probably a conversation that we need to look into at the state level. I do know that the State Board Construction Council is meeting next Tuesday, so that'll be something that comes up. The construction council, which now from the SBO, we may not there, is now under the state licensing for contractors board, and so I think that's a benefit to have those two boards housed and usually I think the same executive director. So there may be some better communication happening then. We'll see. I'm optimistic.
Juliet, maybe this is just a comment for everyone. I'd be willing to pay 2 to 3 times for my permit if it's expedited. Moving forward, it's a professional courtesy for people that are in the industry to pay exorbitant amount more than I'm already paying to issue that permit. For instance, I build in majority of what I do is no matter. So I'll have someone to look at a fencing around a tree that can't get to my project for 3 weeks. So that's 21 days of interest that I lost. And my people that I set up to do things to tear down the house, because I can't tear down the house before they look at a fence around the tree that's on the city property, I can't get someone out there to do that. So is there any path forward? I'll be willing to pay 3 times the amount for a residential building permit. When I submit it, they're on it.
I think that that's probably a longer term conversation that we need to have about how that would function. My only concern is that if we offer an expedited fee and then everybody opts in for the expedited fee, now it's expedited.
But how is it easier?
Right. I mean, you can hire one of you, but then I'm going to have you go back and say, I paid this extra fee. Why? It's just already the same amount of time. And that's because everybody paid that fee, and now we're all taking the same amount of time. So it would certainly have to be a conversation about what would be required, not just for the fee, but is there a hard stop we put on applications that are ready to go? And so there's conversations to be had. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying for effectiveness and efficiency, I would want us to have more in-depth conversations about how that could work. And maybe look at how others in other jurisdictions were successful with it and get their guidance on effective implementation before we just did it.
So I'll offer a suggestion again, Chance. Can third-party inspectors be hired to make that inspection?
As close. So that's the Parkways Department.
Yeah.
And it's
Sure. Chance just happens to be building at the one area where had as many licenses. To be clear, that's a tree. The installation of a tree protection is not something that is parish wide. It is specific to the Metairie Ridge Tree Preservation District and the Old Metairie Neighborhood Conservation District. Region.
Well, the parishes we trips, Chance. We
I'm gonna let you all fight around that.
Will the parish's first-party inspector be allowed to make their deception?
You know what, Bruce? That is actually a very interesting conversation. And I think it's something we could have a conversation about, whether or not we could accept just verification via pictures that are geo tying the state of dam to show the fencing is installed. And that's a conversation. We'll have that conversation.
That seems to be pretty simple on the south.
I think so. I think that
You just heard where your mind's coming from, right?
You ditched that.
So, question. It seems like this case has changed some solved a lot of problems with the technology that's being updated. But it also seems like a lot of this could have been done a long time ago. And I feel like, maybe that's on the vendor a little bit. But I don't know what they do. But, they need to have them more in touch with their clients and see what kind of issues you guys have got to solve that. I'm sure it can a lot of money. Have you guys thought that maybe finding a different vendor that keeps in touch more and maybe more rather than collab?
Tell you quite honestly, that is something we have looked at over the past couple of years. I get probably 3 emails a day from different permitting software systems. We're going to solve your problem. We're going to make you paperless. We're going to speed it all up. And when I watch their webinars, the things they can fix are the things we already have in our system, even as, slow and as bummy as we think the system is. Their fast solutions are really just this. I will tell you one of the reasons why we have come so far the past 2 months on this system was the creation of our specialized operations manager, Patrice Alexander. That has been the game changer for us because in the past, when we had tried to implement things, it was somebody doing it on top of trying to do plans review, on top of try to manage the permits and make the phone calls and what have you. And so having Latrice, whose one job is to work with our vendor and get these done, the other benefit of our current vendor for the FGO software is our in-hall. She is literally driven to their offices and sat and met with them. A lot of these other software vendors are California, are Chicago. You might get lucky to have an assigned sales rep. But when Teresa get a phone call, I'll authorize her to get in her car and drive home and show up on a doorstep. I can't authorize her to realize you're out. And you pay for that. Oh, she has done a phenomenal job. And a lot of what the other benefit is having her participate in these conversations and our future conversations about improvements we can make. As we mentioned at the ENI where we demonstrated the system, we are on the legacy platform. A lot of these efficiencies are things that get us prepared for the new system. And a priority remains for her to get the project guide done by the end of the year, hopefully. The project guide is a big communication piece, Ruth, that your members found in not knowing what they needed to do. Or so that they start a project with a better understanding of what's going to be required. I really do think that a lot of times that they told me DE and EP was required is because unfortunately we don't know EP is going to be required until we've gotten your plans revised. And now he said, okay, now that the first things were cleared away, now his signature's still missing. And so E may have always been missing, but first we had to get through A, B, and C to know that we needed to also say, okay, are you putting, are you just missing E, or are you pursuing a variance? And I will tell you, sometimes that's a challenge to get a response from an applicant. Are you not finding something because you just don't have it on your plans yet, or because you are going to pursue a variance? And we just need you to tell us, I'm not jading it, I want to do the variance, and now is to move your project forward. Until we get that response, we just don't know if your landscape architect missed it, or if you're making the choice not to do it. And planning can't make that decision for you, and it can't read your mind. So that is a part of that communication on the other side. I think Trey will help with that. And so checklists, people mentioned. We have checklists in our application. Yeah. I saw here. I mean, yeah, I'll just tell you. That I did have to ask. I went to the website. Well, no. I don't know what the answer is. I don't, but it's hard to find things too. So I don't know if there's just a way to, have just a particular training section with your checklist, with the videos, with all, I don't know. It just seems a little hard to navigate.
And that's an epilogue. I'd love to have that conversation about if it's better organization of our website and information. Those are things that, again, we can internally modify. Public Information Office manages our website. I get an idea for something and I walk down the hall to Catherine's office and I say, hey, you put this on the website? And she says, cool on. And she pulls it up. We sit there and redo it. So if there are improvements to our website and how we communicate information through that, please call me and schedule a meeting. And if you're thinking it, there's probably a bunch of other people who are thinking it too. And so I welcome those conversations. And again, things like making the user menus, those are things I want to get to. The benefit of Public Information Office is that, Justin and Neil are fantastic. Worked it. They have all of that capability of, recording, you moving this, the cursor around, flicking on things, to adding the voiceovers, all of those editings capabilities, and then we heard the videos on YouTube and have a bunch of leaks out there.
So I think the thing with pieces working on from the project work page, that's going to be very helpful because it's going to be, hopefully it's going to be big font. It's going to huge red letters. You cannot go past here without having this.
Yeah, that's kind of Julia. Katie, everybody's here for permitting and planning. Can you explain to me why, and I could be wrong, but it's my understanding that whether I'm doing new building, commercial, or whether I'm remodeling an existing building and not changing the use, why does that have to go to planning first? So that is determine, well, it's not the right zoning, we got to make sure it's the same type of use and all that kind of stuff. Actually do that?
The zoning clearance is required by law, and the planning department, with the zoning administration division, planning department issues the zoning clearances.
The law.
Yes, the zoning clearance is required by Jefferson Parish Code ordinances. It is supposed to be a requirement of the sheriff's office before they issue the occupancy plan.
Okay, what is the timeline? What is the normal timeline? 30 days, 10 days, a day?
I think it depends on whether or not your zoning clearance required as any additional work to be approved. If it's a zoning clearance where it's just a matter of it was a commercial business and it's commercial business, it doesn't require any change in parking to be, handled or any tenant build out. I think those are done within 1 to 2 days, sometimes the same day. If you apply for your zoning clearance and you are changing occupancy in a multi-unit center where you are going to increase the required parking, that zoning clearance can be issued because we have to resolve the parking deficiency. And so that's what's that part of the process.
Okay, so zoning has to look at it first to make sure that it fits. And if you're exchanging a grocery store or a grocery store, that should be, somebody could make that decision quickly, right? Or does that require all kinds of rocket science and got a little bit?
That should be relatively simple zoning clearance to issue. Essays to play.
Okay, so it shouldn't take 30 days for somebody in zoning to make that decision.
Let me reiterate, Vincent. A lot of this starts with the owner, the architect, the developer, the project manager, whoever actually make the application. Parish cannot take any action without an application in front of us to work from. So if they call us and say, what's the holdup? We don't even have a permit in our system. That's the holdup.
Wait, you can't get a permit until zoning. Doesn't zoning have to review it and approve it before? Doesn't planning have to review and approve it before it goes to permit it?
If they receive a zoning clearance application and if they received your permit application.
Okay.
Hey, you got a question?
Oh, I was just, it was more about NGOs. We kind of had some questions about it. Differences about other places that someone who's used other block terms. Yeah, the Tangier it sticks. The best one, that's a bill. I would say one thing that would be good. A lot of in this meeting we got some recommendations or updates, and this might be on there, but a place to send updates. Maybe there's a link that says, "Yeah, my device, updates back see how the system." Because again, the people that are using them every day, we had this committee, having updates all this pretty. If the idea is the other one is just, hand on the users. I realized at this meeting that I have bookmarked to India from like 6 years ago, was using the old platform. I think a lot of times, some of the issues are kind of on the user side, and it's hard to understand those. Yeah, they all like bookmarks to be. Some people at the day might say, "What? I might be using."
And that's actually a big conversation we had about the planning and zoning map. One of the first things that we asked our IT department is, if somebody has the GeoPortal bookmarked, can we do a redirect? For that very reason is because we all do, a lot of things live forever on the internet in some form or another. I mean, unfortunately, people can do a Google search today and get directed to the old Jefferson Parish website, which we don't even have the ability to update or maintain anymore, but you still get a search result from that. So that was a big part of our concern to our IT department, and they have assured us that they can do a forced redirect. And that was one of the things that you sit down with them today when we do all the actual updating this afternoon, this all watch tomorrow morning, is making sure that they are redirecting the GeoPortal automatically to need that. Did want to point one thing out. It's okay with Folgers. On the parish's website, under services, this is where the link for the online permit portal and then the sub links are. And so while we're talking about information and how we present this, so we do have an RFU that kind of provides a very high level of the new MGO Connect, which is the customer portal. One thing that we have also added just recently is that in May of 2024, we did a seminar in partnership with JEDCO that we called Start Here, Opening a Business in Jefferson Parish. But I think there's a lot of good information in this video that applies to anybody who's trying to get a federal permit in Jefferson Parish. And so we actually have some times to kind of help you go to where you need to. And so you've updated this page to add this video. It is an hour long, but is a lot of really good information in here about the building permit process, occupational licenses, the zoning requirements, including the zoning clearance, and then what happens if compliance and enforcement has to gently up, but you don't.
And that's on your Parish page?
Yes. So this is on the Parish website. If you go to this drop down for services, and then go over here to online permit portal and click the header link. And so those of you who are maybe dealing with new tenants or new businesses coming to Jefferson Parish, this is the page that we're going to kind of be working to build out as a resource as we make these improvements. This may be where we add future videos for the improvements that Latrice makes to the MGO. And then these links that were here on the side take you to the MGO, but these actually will take you directly to the web page here. You can see apply for residential, apply for filing, apply for planning zoning project, apply for a lodging license. And so this is FIDO. This is the current link to the MGO Connect. Now, the other thing here is that there is already a link out here for questions or assistance regarding an application, and this will take you to the parish website. This link we can modify to take you back to that online permitting portal page. This is actually a customization that we asked MGO to create for us. Their typical page template just directs you to is generic MGO. And I said, no. I want to be very clear. If you have questions about an application, then contact us. But if they have technical assistance with the website, they'd even contact you. So this, to what I was saying earlier,
is one of those customizations because they are right here. And I will just be honest, we pay a flat fee to them for licensing for this, and that licensing flat fee includes customization. If we were to go to another, because they are a political subdivision of the state of Louisiana, where they're, I guess, maybe a nonprofit. I'm not sure exactly what they're, but because they are a political subdivision, they are a metropolitan planning organization for the South Central portion of the state. They are not any private business of making and selling software platform. This is what they went into because they were helping communities in South Central Louisiana do permitting and licensing. So if we were to go to a different software vendor, I can almost assure you we would be paying a much higher rate. And every time you ask for a change, we would be paying for that. We don't pay, it would be at cost when we ask them to make these kinds of tweaks and customizations for us. That is built into our software license, right?
And adding other requirements. Yes, that's processing. So they're very reactive. They're not proactive. But reactive is very helpful.
Yes, I will say that's a very fair thing you say. But I will be honest, part of that is we have not always been as aggressive on our side about implementing the things that they've innovated for. Some of it we didn't know about. Some of it we were slower to get going on. But that's in the benefit of the administration's support of creating Teresa's position.
How much time do we have left in the statute? Because I want to go down real quick.
Yep. So I think I can wrap it up in 5 minutes. Just be patient. So saving permits is to make sure that whatever we build is going to be safe. Decrease our liability. My business, I try to decrease my liability every day or every day. Going down a rabbit hole. Electrical inspector was coming out on a single family new construction bill. No, this is a Jefferson Parish inspector. So they move in the house, let fire happens, house burns down, they all get out. Do I call Jefferson Parish to limit my liability because they say that inspection was good and something happened? Who's responsible? It's me. No matter what Jefferson Parish said, their inspector said there was good to go, all the wiring's good, they get me a file, Jefferson Parish gave me a CO, they always come back me. So under that umbrella, does it make sense, and this is a ratable, just be patient, does it make sense for me to hire a licensed engineer or an architect and keep your inspectors off private property? And you could tell me from the planning department, yes, this is a height requirement, these are the setbacks, this and everything else, then we can hire somebody else, Ravenel, the true patient, an engineer, licensed state engineer or an architect to certify that I build it per the plan. You keep Jefferson Parish off of private property.
An engineer can't register with the Louisiana State at the location. Is that any stuff at third party?
To answer your question, though, Chiefs, right? At time of the inspection, be it an engineer, architect, our guys, or a third party, at the point of the inspection, it was approved because it was correct. We'll make that assumption. Your electrician put it together correctly. We inspected it, was approved. From that point forward, anything could change, could cost that body. So to answer your question, as a liability, still is always still going you ultimately. You.
When you have insurance assessors, oh, by the way, inspectors,
I'm not an attorney nor my practice in law. Right.
Disclaimer. But when you have assessors coming out, if you have a fire, there's going to be some investigation, right, on your part to say what happened. So Justin Harris said that it would happen after they finally inspected it, right?
Right. I would also say that if your architect acting in the capacity as the architect is expecting them to make their reminded, they should probably
Regarding Harris, right? Still be a read that after work through this. It's always the best of our knowledge and belief.
Remember, they could be a third party. An architect could be licensed the third party inspector, and they conduct an inspection that they're no longer part of that area.
That was just a ride. They'll be taking all of your liability for this would be ready to be given.
Do you have too many architects around here? Yeah, where it is.
Say one last comment. Julia, I know a raw professional living here, and so we're going up through that side. Is there a method for somebody who more mature individual doesn't know how to email very well? I mean,
How do they, if you put them in front of a computer, can they come in the office?
So yes, and that was actually one of the that you freaked touch on. I did want to address that with the committee. When we did the committee, call for issues for discussion for last meeting. One of the things that somebody say was, the ability for people to come into the office and make an application. And we actually do have already had the East Bay permitting office and the West Bay permitting office computer kiosks in the lobby that people can come into our office and make their applications. Well, we're working to purchase scanners to install with those kiosks. So if they bring in their papers or they need to scan them and upload them, they can actually do that right there. I will also say that because this is, the internet, they can come, here's the library, or any jumpers to Parish Library, and utilize the computers of the library. But yes, we do have employees at the parish buildings who they absolutely need to sit down with somebody. The permit techs do have that capability, and they are there. If somebody were had an issue in the kiosk, in the lockies.
All right. Do we have any ideas for next meeting's agenda? Was anybody on the board anything that we would like to start discussion on, follow up, or anything?
Done. Well, yeah, maybe we can get some correction from Parish, the prospective Parish partners to find out, how many people are we short in Purdy, how many people are we short in planning, and what kind of progress has been made to fill those positions so that some of the issues that we talked about today from both residential side and commercial side can be solved. I mean, our contractors are obviously, after we go out, pay extra money. They have an independent inspector do the work that the parish is supposed to be doing. And of course, that cost falls back on the owner or the prospective.
Yeah. So like an inventory of that content. How many staff members? Yeah. But also how many projects are normally applied toward in a month? Yeah, that could be.
And that it's one part. There's one of the questions that I had that I want to make sure that I understand it. Is the system set up today to where you're not going to get permit, or whether to build a house or to remodel an existing tenant space without planning, approving in first?
So, planning apartments is doing certain reviews on permits, primarily commercial. Most residential permits will not require any planning interaction unless it is in the Elementary Neighborhood Conservation District. Harry T. Or, in making that application, once it's
Second, the permit tech or the plan reviewer realizes that a subdivision application is required for the permit can be issued. So, to your answer, it's not an all or nothing thing. We cannot completely, you're not getting rid of planning from it.
And I'm not trying to get rid of, I'm not trying to get rid of the planning department. What I'm saying is there one person that makes that decision? Or are there 4 or 5 people that have the right to make that decision? Because if there's only one person that can make that decision, and he or she is not in, or for whatever reason they don't like you or they like you're doing, it doesn't get done. So I just want to know, is there a committee? Or is there just one person who makes that decision?
So let me first of all, there is no parish employee who is holding up projects because they don't like someone. I'm very...
Well, I shouldn't have said that, but, what I'm trying to...
I want to be very clear that all of our employees are very hardworking. We all understand the importance of our jobs and the success of Jefferson Parish. I mean, we get told all the time, my taxes pay your salary. Well, I need to go bang taxes to pay that salary, right? So it is... We are here to make Jefferson Parish successful. To your question about planning department, the first planner, there is, planners who are assigned to review an application the same way a plans reviewer in the building permitting department is assigned to review that application. They made that initial review and that initial comment whether or not a planning application is required. That is not a committee decision. They are making that call right then and there in the permit. So I hope that addresses that part of your question.
No. Yes.
But that's a conversation that, and I don't know that we're going to.
Okay, but I just want to, again, I've talked to many different planners on many different projects, and they tell me, I don't think I have a problem with it, but I can't make a final decision. So what I'm trying to understand is, are we
in different phases?
I'm sorry?
I think you're talking about 2 different phases of an application, or how there is initial review, but then there are longer-term, larger applications, and it is not always a one-answer easy question, particularly if what you are asking for is something that is not consistent with the regulations already in place. So let me circle back to the question about discussion of staffing. As we did present the last meeting, and so that is, by that appreciation already, we can certainly disseminate those overall organization charts so you can see what level of staffing we have, and where employees are allocating within those resources. We can certainly come back to that discussion with numbers of applications within a typical time frame and how those applications are allocated to reviewers, just to give you all a scope and understanding of the daily workload. Typical be whether that be a plans reviewer or perhaps a planner, and particularly our engineering division, who are a large part of any project application.
Right, how many projects are submitted in the month of July? And say, how many staffers are reviewing her department? I mean, it's got to be every department. You got to have, how many people.
And the bill specific, but what the time frame was, could they get our first? If we should break it down to commercial and residential.
Pastor, the distinction between the two?
We can work on some of the information.
Eddie, so we can, I don't know that that's enough for a full committee for meeting, let's see, but certainly we'll pull together some of the information. Have a back to share.
That would be a top bullet comment that we come across here.
Would we be interested in hearing on some of maybe the most prolific third-party sector, and then maybe a mechanical or a metrical or a plumbing sector from a Parish? Should we be interested in hearing from them, like from their perspective, maybe if there's anything we could do better to help them move along more quickly.
I mean, it might be good to have Jason, come and give an overview of inspections because he got a lot of experience.
Yes, sir. So, like in the beginning, I said the first or second meeting, you guys hand out the infographic that showed the process they get a permit. So, WIC Clinic is involved, and LD DOTD is involved. And I think they've done a good job, thus far going through a lot of the oral information and how we can make that more efficient. But ultimately, I'd like to redirect back to the overall process. I know you guys probably have a lot of, input and just, how clunky that is and where you guys think there might be efficiency gained. But like going back to that overall web and saying, like, how can we untangle this to, to modify it and streamline it a little bit?
In my opinion, is something that needs to happen needs to be amen. The spaghetti mountain needs to be dealt with.
So to that, I did want to share with the committee, as we've mentioned in those early meetings, the complexity of regulations, the zoning ordinance in particular. We have just on Friday received responses for a UDC rewrite. And so that will be going through. The scoring process is soon. We did receive 3 responses, and so at a very good response rate from this project. I'm excited by that. I took a look at them yesterday, and I think the teams are actually very well qualified. Some local folks involved, and so I think we'll be in good hands with whoever gets selected. We'll be structured. That process is that responses will be initially scored, and then I think maybe the top 2 will be interviewed so that staff and the scoring committee actually had the opportunity to meet with the actual project principals and talk to them and have a better understanding of their appreciation of our scope and our project. So I don't anticipate having that final selection by the time of our next meeting in September. One thing that we could talk about to get to Will's point regarding the flowchart and the spaghetti model is I think something that would be useful for this committee to have a good understanding of, because it is something that is not just the planning process, but it has a major impact on the permitting process, is the special zoning districts, the overlays, and those projects that are required to go through the legislative process through the PAD and the council. And so giving you guys an understanding of the role those entities play in the process, timelines associated with that, I think is an important part of the conversation, to Will's point regarding process, as to what is required to go through that legislative process versus going straight to the Board of Zoning Adjustments, which is, in my opinion, a much quicker process. And so I think those are some good conversations to maybe have this committee to start thinking about as the planning department undertakes the UDC rewrite. And so those are conversations to be had as we rewrite the regulations and rewrite the process. If a lot of that process is codified, a lot of that is the zoning code says that this has to go through these steps. These are the applications that require these things, and those are built into the code. And so to make those changes requires code amendments. And so having a good understanding of that baseline, I think, is beneficial for the committee.
And I've actually had one final question and comment. We got a lot of builders here. I've been told by many people in construction that it's easier to do either a new house or a remodel or a Murphy building in Gretna, in Westwego, in Kenner, in St. Charles Parish than it is in Jefferson Parish. Why is that? Small. Well, wait. Before you answer that question, am I correct? No? Okay, I stand. I apologize. Not even close. Okay.
Got an email from Cal.
Sure.
Is there a point in time that the people that are an upper level manager at Jefferson Parish would submit their wish list of how many more peoples they need in every department head to be more efficient?
That is on the budget cycle.
I realize that, but we would need input from you guys to get more funding to be more efficient, and y'all know what y'all missing. We don't know what is needed. So, is there any information that y'all could share with us to fight for more funding where the city council could be more efficient?
Yes, we can, as we had that discussion, gosh, stabbing, I think that would be really kind of illustrative of getting us a better realistic number of, just adding one person to really make a difference, and where do we strategically add additional people? I think that's a big conversation to be held too. Like, that's not just adding manpower in general, but I think having that conversation strategically to understand. But certainly know we need inspectors, but do we need more engineers who are doing preliminary inspections and post inspections? Do we need more engineers who are participating in the review process so that the engineering review happens faster? I think those are some very constructive conversations that we can have to help identify that.
And one other thing would be, where's the budget that is necessary to hire, train, and keep those people? Because that's very important. That's for some momentos. 3.5 billion to 5 billion. It's a lot of money. So we'd like to know that.
I mean, Cindy is not here, so y'all could speed up.
Oh, yes, they're the engineering department. We are openings for engineers, and we've had them for a long time. And every engineer that applies to Jefferson Parish wants to go build roads and bridges. It's a lot more glamorous, and it sounds a lot more fun. We have not been successful in hiring new engineers into the permit area. So if you can find them,
we all
interested. And that's part of our problem. I don't have the numbers in front of me. We raise
We'll have those numbers about
we'll
break plans so we could talk.
And you have increased this is in my time frame. I initiated a job study and did increase the cash for all of those positions. So it's better. It's still not great. It's not completely comparable with the city of New Orleans, because the city of New Orleans and the Sewage and Water Board, it is significantly more than every governmental entity. But we're more in line with the rest of the governmental entities now. But we do not pay, and no matter what happens, we'll never get to the point where we're competitive with private insurance.
All right, one last question. I will be very quick. I want a second chances comment on expedited fees, whether plan review or inspection. Yeah, I think if you did a survey of business owners who spend their own capital developing, you will find that a great majority would be willing to follow that plan. And it will fund any amount of people you want. I can guarantee you that the $10, $15, $20 million just construction loan, people don't understand, they're pure interest, no principal down payment. A single day, sometimes a single hour of a day's interest that is lost will pay for 2 or 3 people's salaries per day. So there's incredible incentive to give more money to be put to the front of the line. And I understand that there might be a hit to the line that you can create. It's still better than you're and it would make search.
Hey, you'll have any communities that you work with where this expedited review for see your view successful? They share that with the Marcus is answer. We'll see if he has something.
It's a good thing to send to us. Yes, if you've seen an expedited system somewhere else that works, send an email and say this is works here. This how much we paid more to get to the front on.
It's like a big
yeah. So what I know is accessible or community.
That means, Janet, I may have missed this. I'm sorry if I did. Are we going to hear about process of hiring third-party repair? how can we expedite that process? That's number one. But from what I'm hearing, 3-4 inspectors, that's the solution. And you even heard a suggestion about how to pay for it. You have to be prepared to previously less that.
So we already have the advocate contract is in the signature, but are using in that contract executed, and then determine what are the thresholds at which we implement and authorize the hiring of attorney inspector by our.
Can we get a report about that in the next week?
Yes, we can provide a status update at the next.
All right, last one, Michelle Jeff.
Okay. Just for futures, parish council passes ordinance, I think, in January. And it says third quarters may certify plans. At least it says it. And then everything else in the ordinance is about the inspections. So, initial reading, I mentioned that there are a lot of permits that come to in Paris that are FS towers, that there's no zoning, parking, drainage issues. These things y'all should look at. Could be issued very quickly. You know, if that paid extra for it, is apparently a third party could do that plan review on these specified jars.
So yes, the state of Louisiana authorizes third-party plans review and third-party inspectors. So some of that language ordinance is modeled off of state language. We're not at the point of the parish of needing to necessarily hire third-party plans reviewers, but it is something that is a possibility.
Just all around Wally, therefore, is dismitten there, or deemed Fisher upon it.
Good. All right, we reached our time. We can have a motion to adjourn. On Reaver. Second. Eight.